Record. Okay, so I'll be able to edit out the first little bit, but what we'll do is I'll just do a quick intro. Is there anything that you want me to bring up or mention?
No,
No, you're happy with
I'm
all of
I'm nervous, so I'll
Are
just
you?
I like it if you take the bull by the horns.
Yeah, no worries. You don't need to be nervous. That's why I put in there. It's just a casual chat with a friend. We're just chatting about
That's great.
our stroke experiences. And I love doing it because it can be such an isolating thing. I don't know if it was isolating for you, but I've had 3 strokes. I had them all simultaneously, and it was just so isolating. I had no idea that young people could have strokes, and I didn't know anyone that I could relate to. So I have made it a bit of a mission of mine to raise awareness and to talk about it as often as I can and connect with as many people as I can.
That's incredible.
Did you know that I've also written a book or compiled a book? Have you seen that?
Pardon me?
Have you seen the book that I compiled?
I have not.
Uh, I'll have to show it to you. So it's called Finding Yourself
Oh,
After Stroke.
I have seen that. Finding Yourself After Stroke. I've
Yeah,
seen it, but I haven't read it yet.
it's great. It's got stories from everyone all over the world. So there's lots of different diverse backgrounds and stroke stories and hemorrhage strokes, ischemic strokes, TIAs, lots of different recovery.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to get started and we can just go from there.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Stroke Empowerment Series podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Letisha Living. I am a young survivor of 3 ischemic strokes and the author of Finding Yourself After Stroke. I am honoured to have a special guest on with us today, all the way from California in the United States, Roger Havens. Welcome, Roger, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. So, um, tell us a bit about your, tell us a little bit about you first. Who were you before stroke impacted your life?
I was actually not a young stroke survivor. I was 64 when I had my stroke. I had a shoulder surgery in September of 2020 that caused several blood clots to go to my lungs. And those then turned into a TIA towards November of 2020. And I was just in the shower one day, and one half of my face went completely numb, and my I didn't have any idea what was going on, and so I talked to a friend, and they suggested that I should go to the hospital and get checked out. I do have a history of strokes in my family. My mother had a stroke, and I should have known the warning signs, but I really didn't. But I went to the hospital and I got checked out by the doctors, had the CT scan and the MRI, and they could not find anything wrong with me. And by the time I was ready to leave, the symptoms had all disappeared. So they sent me home. And I went home, and for a couple of days, I was fine. I uh, went to a party on Halloween 2020 and got home and went to bed. And the next morning, I woke up and I couldn't stand up. And I was very disoriented and I couldn't get to the bathroom by myself. I managed to find my cell phone, and with my right hand, I was left-handed before my stroke, and I couldn't use my left hand or left arm at all. Excuse me. Uh, with my right hand, I found my cell phone and I called my son, and he came over, and with the advice nurse, we did a brief evaluation. I was not able to stand or walk on my own. I was very disoriented. As I said, I couldn't use my left hand or arm at all. My hand was just clenched in a fist. So we called 911, had the paramedics came and they checked me out and took me to the hospital, where I underwent the tests again. And they found out that, yes, indeed, I had had a ischemic stroke that on the right side of my brain that had taken away my function of the left side of my body. I spent about a week in the hospital and then was transferred to a special stroke rehab facility. And I spent a month there learning how to walk again, learning how to feed myself the essential things so I would be able to take care of myself somewhat when I got home.
So when you
Pretty
were
intense.
in hospital, before you were sent to rehab, were you a bit confused that you had already been in and they had done some tests and sent you home? And then when you were home, you've had a major stroke? Were you concerned about that things weren't picked up in that time?
Yes, I was concerned at why they hadn't found any of those things my previous visit, and they didn't really have an explanation for it,
So
but they did.
with the TIAs, you had symptoms, and that's what's got you to hospital.
Yes, I had symptoms with my TIA, the numbness in my face, and I couldn't use my left hand.
All right. So the warning signs were there. Um,
Yes, I just didn't know what to look for. I
yeah.
should have known, like I said, because my mother had a history of strokes.
And how
But
old
I
were you
wasn't,
when your mum had strokes?
pardon me?
How old were you when your mum had strokes?
Uh, Probably 50.
Yeah. And were hers ischemic strokes as well?
Yes. Hers
Yeah.
were just small TIAs that really came and went without any reason, and they never lasted very long.
And was it like from blood clotting or a heart
Yes,
condition?
it was from blood clotting.
Yeah.
So I had had a problem with blood clotting before after a few surgeries, but really didn't think that much about it because it had always cleared itself up and gone away. But I was put on a blood thinner and had some extensive blood work done. And they found out that I have a rare blood mutation that is acquired, not inherited.
Okay.
And I've never really got an explanation as to how you acquire a blood mutation. I
Mm.
can understand having something that I had inherited, but acquired, I'm not sure. I thought it might have had something to do with what I did for a living, but there was never any indication that that was a cause for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? To hear that you've
Yes.
acquired something not inherited, especially when you look at the family history is already there. Your mother's had strokes, you've had strokes, and then have you got children?
I do. I have 4 children.
Me too. I have 4 children as well. Do you feel concerned that they could have strokes in their future?
Yes, I do. They are all aware as well that the mutation, none of them have the mutation.
Cool.
So, but they are all aware of now the symptoms of stroke, and they're very, very cautious and very careful with their health.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as we know, it just comes on suddenly, and that's it. Life is forever changed, and it's not something
Yes.
that any of us expect is going to happen to us.
Yeah, it very comes on very suddenly and is really a big game and life changer.
Hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. So, you've your life was completely changed. You've had these TIAs, and a couple of days later, a major stroke, and you've spent some time in hospital, and then got to rehab. How long were you in rehab for?
I was in rehab for a month.
A month. Yeah. And then, are you still having community rehab now?
I do some outpatient physical therapy
Hmm.
to help with some of the problems. My gait when I'm walking, my left leg is numb from my knee down through my left foot.
Hmm. Do you
So
have
when I
like Botox or things for your leg?
no, I've asked them about that, but my health insurance doesn't cover Botox.
Hmm.
So I do a lot of physical therapy, walking and exercising as much as I can. Uh, so one thing I did before my stroke, I was an avid swimmer. I have not been able to. I've been in the pool a couple of times since my stroke, but I haven't gotten back into it to the point where I'm going and swimming 2 or 3 days a week like I was before, just because of the left leg weakness. And I still have some residual left arm and hand weakness.
Yeah. And have you had to learn how to write with your right hand now? I'm left-handed as well.
Uh, I still, I tried to write with my right hand, but it was harder
Yeah.
than trying to write with my left hand. So I try and write the best I can and use my left hand.
Yeah.
But I make fun of it because I have a 6-year-old granddaughter who can write better than I can,
Yeah.
neither than I can. So
Um,
I keep working at it.
yeah. And I follow you on Instagram, and I've noticed you've got something really amazing to share with everybody in your progress, something that happened um quite recently that you've been able to do with your left hand. Do you want to share that with everyone?
Oh, I have a rubber ball that I've been practicing trying to pick up with just my left hand. And yesterday was the first time that I was able to pick it up solely using only my left hand and completely, and my fingers tight enough that I could pick it all the way up off the bed by myself. So
Amazing.
that was pretty amazing for me.
Absolutely. That is such a milestone, and it's just incredible. So, for people that are listening in, I think this is kind of a message to them to not give up, that recovery is possible, that you just keep doing the work, and you never know how far along down the track these things are going to continue to improve.
That's true. That's the biggest thing that I've learned is you can never give up. You have to keep trying, keep working at it, no matter how hard it is. It's very frustrating at times, but you never know when something's going to improve. I mean, just about when you're ready to give up, that's when you see improvement. So that's a good reason to keep going.
I totally agree with you there. And
Pardon me.
you're absolute living proof of that. You've kept going, you've kept trying, and now almost 2 years, your strokes were in 2020, we're in 2023 now, and you were able to lift up the ball with your affected hand. Like, that's just incredible.
Yes, it was.
Um, so looking back, is there something you wish you had have known at the time of your stroke that you know now?
Is there what?
Is there something that you wish that you had have known at the time of your stroke that you knew now? Probably the symptoms.
Yes. Uh, I wish I had known more of the symptoms so that I would have taken quick action instead of thinking, oh, it's just nothing, it'll go away. If I would have really known the symptoms, I would have not waited. I would have never have called a friend and sought their advice, even though they were a medical professional. I would have gone directly to the hospital. The anonym BFAST
Yeah.
is really important because things, if I had gotten to the hospital right after my TIA, they may have been able to have done something medically with medicine that could have dissolved the stroke, possibly, maybe not, but even after when I did have my stroke, I had it at night while I was sleeping. So I have no idea how long I was asleep until I woke up and realized that I had had a stroke. But more than probably 6 hours had gone by. So it was too late to do any of those medical treatments.
So tell us about that. So I had my stroke in my sleep also, but it woke me up. Uh, how was it for you when you woke up the next day? Did you know straight away, oh, I think something's wrong with me? Something's not working quite as it should be?
No, it struck me right away because I had to get up and use the bathroom,
Mhm.
and I couldn't get out of bed and I couldn't stand up.
Yeah.
My left leg was was had been affected, and it would just buckle and bend underneath me. I had no control over the muscles or anything, I would just collapse to the floor every time I tried to stand up.
And it didn't, and you didn't think at that time, I'm having a stroke?
No, I didn't.
No, I was exactly the same. So my stroke woke me up, and before I could even get up, I just knew that I couldn't. I knew that I couldn't walk. Uh, but I never thought I was having a stroke either. And it was about 4 days before I was diagnosed, and I had no idea. No idea.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been over 2 years now for you. Um, what does life look like for you now?
Uh, well, it's a lot different. Before my stroke, I was still working full time. I had worked for a railroad company here in California. After my stroke, because of my limitations, I wasn't able to go back to work. So I took early retirement. This is not how I had exactly envisioned retirement after 30 years on the job. Uh, I have a really great girlfriend that I live with, and she helps me a lot. We enjoy a lot of things. We love to dance. I love to dance and I love live music. We try and do that once or twice a week. I work out with a personal trainer a couple of times a week. I love to work in my garden. if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you'll have seen some of my pictures of my flowers and trees, and I still am doing that very avidly.
I have seen
What?
them, and there's your garden is so inspiring. I love the
Thank
pictures
you,
that you share.
thank you. I love working outside and being outside, and I'm still trying to be as physical as I can be. It's nothing like I was before because I do get tired very easily.
Yeah.
And but I've learned to how to kind of conserve my energy and when to work and when to rest.
So share some of
Uh,
those tips with us. Neuro fatigue or post-stroke fatigue or cognitive fatigue, whatever you call it, is very common in stroke survivors. Um, there are times where I really suffer from the fatigue and don't really get a lot done in my day. So tell me, or tell us, share with us, how do you manage your fatigue and how do you know when it's coming on? And what tips do you have to conserve energy?
I really have to just slow down and not try and do as much as I would have expected that I could from before. Before my stroke, I was an early riser. I actually worked a graveyard shift for 30 years, and I was always busy. I always had a project, something going on, whether it was at work or at home. I've had to learn that it's okay not to be busy like that all the time, that I don't have to accomplish everything on my to-do list or anyone else's to-do list for that matter,
Exactly.
and that it's okay. Sometimes I just take a breather and sit down and rest for a few minutes and I'm good to go again for a little while. And then I do nap every day. And fortunately, with working out and the little bit of work outside that I do, I'm tired enough that I sleep very well at night. Pardon me.
Yeah, it's a nice life though, simple life. Where and I love that advice that you give where you don't have to do everything on your to-do list, and especially other people's expectations
Right.
are definitely not the expectations that you need to be setting for yourself. And you
That's
mentioned that you have a wonderful girlfriend. Were you together prior to your stroke?
we were.
And how has she helped you or supported you through the stroke and through your recovery?
She's been great. Uh, she was she was very supportive during my recovery and the time I was in rehab. she she really helps me out, making sure that I eat decently. She's a very good cook. And like I said, we both love music and dancing. So we try and do that once a week. We both, because I was fortunate enough to be able to retire, I have a halfway decent income. We were able to actually go to Hawaii earlier this year for a week and enjoy some time just completely away from the stress of everyday life. The one thing that I have really missed out on my stroke is driving.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I was very I like to drive before, but it really affected my cognitive abilities, my reaction time, and everything. So the town that we live in is very small in Northern California. So she drives almost everywhere to the store and when we go out, and I drive a little bit more, but nothing like I used to.
Mhm.
She's
And
been very supportive.
yeah, it sounds like the two of you have a really great thing going on. You've got a good balance there in your relationship and life.
It is very nice. we're both about the same age. She has 4 kids as well as well as I do, and we're both very family oriented, and it's just nice that we enjoy doing the same thing. A lot of days we can just sit on the couch and watch a movie, and it's just great.
It's what it's
We
all
don't
about.
have to be. We don't have to do anything.
Enjoy all of those moments.
Yes.
So you're very blessed to have somebody so supportive in your life and have that lifestyle that you've got after stroke. For other people who have people supporting them, what advice through your own experience could you give to their supporters to help them manage their relationships post stroke?
Uh, it's a give and take. I think it takes really somebody who's really, pardon me, I've had a really bad cold. I think it's a lot of patience is involved. I know for myself, I lost a certain amount of vision in my left eye, and I lost quite a bit of the hearing in my left ear from my stroke. So I know that she is very, very patient and helps me deal with those things. Relationship wise, it's a real give and take, and just try to be supportive of each other. I think communication is very important. Being able to talk openly with each other about what's going on is very important.
Yeah, I love it. And thanks for sharing that. And I completely agree with you. It's definitely the key to making relationships work. Generally speaking, you put stroke and trauma into the mix and it can make it even more challenging. But I completely agree with you with communication and patience. It's definitely the key.
Yes. Yes.
So, what advice would you give to another survivor of stroke who's listening to this right now?
One of the things that I've really had problems with is I was always afraid after my stroke of having another stroke.
Yeah.
And therefore I created a lot of anxiety and a certain amount of depression. So I reached out to my to mental health providers to help me work through that, both with medication and with therapy. It has been very, very helpful. One thing that I have learned is that you have to not give up, keep trying, no matter how frustrating things get. And ultimately, you have to take a risk now and then when you want to try something new. That's something that I have really had to do, and that's one thing that has kind of kept me from getting back into the swimming pool and being comfortable with that. Is you have to take a risk. You get tired of being in your situation. You want to get out and you want to do different things. There's lots of different things to try, and just try something. And you only really fail if you don't try.
Yeah.
And I've kind of was given an adage from someone that told me there is no magic pill that's going to correct what happened. Stroke recovery is not like shoulder surgery or a broken leg recovery. It's completely different, and everybody is on their own timeline. Don't compare yourself to other people, which I am most guilty of. And that's one thing that my girlfriend reminds me is to not spend too much time on social media looking at what everybody else is doing.
It's a good way
and
to drag
and
down.
comparing yourself.
Yeah, that compare equals despair when you compare yourself to somebody else.
Pardon me?
And so that compare is like despair. When you compare yourself to somebody else, it's a great way to
That's
bring
true.
it down.
That's true.
Well, thank you, Roger, for taking the time to come on today and sharing your stroke lived experiences with us. You have shared some absolute wisdom with us today in terms of your mindset and recovery and not to give up and absolute gold keys for relationship communication and patience. And the big one there is always to reach out for support. If you feel like you're struggling, you're definitely not the only one. And to
Yes.
never give up.
I would like to just add, if I may,
Mm-hmm.
uh, anybody, I've had a couple of mentors from Instagram. Elise Newland from
Yeah.
Post Stroke organization that I've worked with her. She's an occupational therapist. Very, very talented young woman and really helped me a lot. The other is Joe Borges from Joe So Rocks. He is on Instagram as well. He runs a stroke recovery group on Instagram and Facebook. Very, very, very knowledgeable, a stroke survivor himself. And they've really helped me. And if people would like to reach out to me, they can reach me on Instagram as well.
And for people listening, can you just share what your Instagram account is? And I'm happy to put it in the chat once we've uploaded the
Sure,
recording.
sure. My Instagram name is Twisted Pony, TWISTEDPONY 64.
Great. So we'll put that handle in below as well. And thank you for sharing the support people to reach out to. I'm a big fan and advocate of post-stroke and Elise. And I didn't know about Jose Rocks, and I'm looking forward now to checking him out and seeing what amazing
You'll
content he's
enjoy him.
got for the community. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing the absolute amazing wisdom and your life experience. And I'm sure there is so much in here that is going to benefit and help others.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.